Hello, everybody. How's everybody doing? It's Drew here, and today I'm going to read the book, which is Saturday, which I always do. And this book, that I'm going to read is Saraya, Hell, and Boots: Clawing My Way Through Nine Lives. Now, this book has a lot of true story. It's always you have to recommend it. And speaking of recommended, you guys made the voting poll, and this book right here comes first. So I'm going to read out loud to you guys. Maybe I should read chapter to chapters, maybe an index, I tell. Before I read this book, I have a lot of respect for Saraya. She put her body on the line to wrestle for you guys. And she takes bumps, she takes championships, she fighting for her family, which I watched already. That movie is a true story. Make sure you watch Fighting for My Family or Fighting with My Family. Correction. So this book can also tell you a new true story based on her career. She became the youngest 30 Divas champion, NXT Women's Champion. She's one of the PCB, uh, Paige Becky Charlotte, or Paige Charlotte Becky. Yeah, and due to tragic events that happened, that she suffered her neck injury, that almost lost her career. She took a time off, and then she returned to professional wrestling. And I gotta tell you that much that Saraya is the first woman to win her very first AEW Women's World Championship on her home country. I'm very proud of her. So, without further ado, let's read Saraya Hell in Boots. Alright, guys, so I skipped into this part for part one because I apologize for skipping a prologue because it has a strong language that there's a disturbing messages right there that really terrifies me. So I feel bad for Saraya, but I'm gonna read the whole part. So I'm gonna read I'm gonna read chapter per chapter at every page. So if you want me to keep on going, make sure you get the thumbs up. I want to see about no matter how many likes do you need to get. So we're gonna need much of the likes. All right, I read it now. Part one, chapter one: Pride and Joy. Picture yourself standing in the middle of the arena, a huge crowd stretching high above you from every angle. Some of them hate you with every fiber of their being. Some of them love you to a point of obsession, and all of them were screaming at the top of their lungs. Music is blaring against your eardrums. The smoky scent of a firework that just exploded into a million tiny embers hovers in the air. Every nerve in your body feels electric. You breathe deep into your lungs, and just then, the bottom of someone's boot connects square with your jaw. Believe it or not, this is the best feeling ever. There's nothing in the world that comes close to a buzzing, adrenaline-filled vibe of a wrestling match. Not a most pit, not the most intense rock concert you ever attended, not even the wildest, most exhilarating night of your life. It's downright contagious. The spirit of wrestling, the desire of good to triumph over evil, the howling for the fans of each setback, the squeeze of triumph when the babyface gets ahead. Even those who aren't wrestling fans get pulled into a spectacle, feeding off the energy. They suck into the action on center stage. It's a classic good versus evil story everyone can relate to. Forever people have learned to gather together to hiss and curse at the villain, to cheer for the hero, to hold their breath until the girl tied to a train tracks is rescued. It's a height that all the wrestling fans know well. In the mid-90s, when wrestling in England was in the heyday and the halls were always chock-a-block with fans, it was my family's job to give them what they came for. And my job, even as an 8-year-old, was to help make the magic. Wow. So she's one of the youngest who wrestled. Come on, kids, up you go. Dad called, slamming the double doors at the back of the family van closed after boosting me and Zach into a family's big white cargo van, shoving me by the arse into a cramped space. The van was loaded with all the parts needed to construct a full-size wrestling ring, packed Tetris-like in the back, and we crawled over the heap to find the space to ride to the coin exchange. Wouldn't take long, but that would be late. Mom came dashing from the house, nearly trampling us over tilt. Her dyed tomato red hair sticking up every which way, her tats on full display in the crop top despite the drizzling morning. She dragged a bag of wrestling gear and makeup behind her. Mom always did more than her fair share, driving everywhere, loading the van, herding the wrestlers and kids. She's a workhorse, a jill of all trades. Careful there, love, Dad called to her. She was always getting hurt, mostly in the ring, and we all worried about her. Trailing Mom was one or another of the wrestler helpers who stayed with us, trained with our family, and generally adding to the blinding mayhem that seemed to surround us. Zach and I found places on top of the heap of metal foam pads, ropes, and canvas, and splayed ourselves out like starfish, keeping our heads as low as possible so as not to get smacked to a fucking head with every bump on the road. Oh man, that's one language thing. As the van puttered through the streets of Norwich, passing double-decker buses at the train station, Victorian homes, and the university, we would hear Mom and Dad cursing and laughing, strategizing for the day's wrestling matches with their helpers, developing storylines to keep their punters entertained and screaming for more. Zach and I paid a little attention, lost in our world in the back, but when Dad hit the occasional pothole, sometimes on purpose, Zach and I bounced around and laughed manically, screaming out curse words to his delight. Oh boy. Once we arrived at the destination, the grunt roast started. It was like we were the circus come to town, and now it was time to raise the big top, or at least wrestling version of it. The ring, the holy grail, the place where all the action occurred. First, we carried it to a full-size iron post we would use to make the rings out of frame, and piece them together. All hands on deck. When we laid bars of iron across the frame. I keep saying frame, damn it. Like supporters on the bunk bed to create the foundation level. My hands smelled of WD-40 and iron for carrying the supporters. An odor that soaked into my skin and never really went away. Once the support bars were in place, with heavy, thick plywood boards, 8 of them, each weighing what felt like a ton across that foundation. The gym mats followed, and then finally the canvas, like a sheet stretched across the top of the mattresses, the place where all the drama could unfold. We have only one spare canvas, so if in the previous match a wrestler had bled or busted or sweated all over it, you can never get it fully clean. We simply flip it over to switch it out with our only backup. 9 times out of 10, the canvas looked a bit dodgy. No, oh my gosh. I terrible at the spelling. When they tied all the layers down around the bottom of the ring with ropes before a fabric, the skirt encircled the rest of the ring. We weren't done though. Mm. The ropes went next. Three tiers of them. Hooks connected the ropes to the post. At those connection points, the turnbuckles need to be covered and padded to protect the wrestlers. Sometimes we had big pads that covered at all three points of connection. Other times, smaller individual pads did the job. My little finger struggled, but I was able to tie the pads into a place while Zach followed me, taping over the connection points. That's one of the smells that we stuck with you, the tape. There's the chemical smell of the Avhurst part, but it's all mixed together with dirt and sweat and grime. Like us, the tape has been on the road for a while. It never got taken off, which is adding another layer upon the coins I've always existed, creating a pungent odor without meaning to. Sticky stuff mixed with human perspir- perspiration, dust, and grunge, all with a heaping serving of the adrenaline that soaked into the tape of the previous matches. The smell was sharp and in some ways unpleasant, but will be forever tied in my mind with home and comfort and family and love. Finally, once the ring was set up and ready to go, Zach and I got a little break. This was the moment I loved the most. As mom and dad revealed strategies with the other wrestlers, Zach and I tumbled our way through the empty seats of the venue. Imagine the crowds that would soon fill the space until there wasn't room for even one extra body. Grandparents and great grandparents, middle aged folks, parents with kids, teenagers with their friends. Today's venue, the coin exchange, which usually is just a livestock auction, house a week of cow manicure at Memoir. Soon, though, it will be transformed by all the crazy, wild energy of wrestling. The frenzied, hair rising series of matches my family had come to present. By the time I was 8, though, I was pretty sure I didn't want to become a wrestler myself. I see too many of my family members hurt. My parents, my brothers, my uncles, and even my granddad. That was enough for me, but still, even though my place in this stands, I love the energy of the ring. It's the rawest, most addictive drug I ever encountered. Mm. There was a time when I was smaller, where I didn't fully understand what was happening. Then the whole scene fucking terrified me. When I was little, about 4, I would see it with another older woman who'd been charged with keeping an eye on me. Once the venue was filled, my dad, Rowdy Ricky Knight, as he was known to fans, came to warn into a picture, circling the ring, talking trash about his opponent, beating his chest, showing his teeth, antagonizing the crowd, playing the heel. The whole auditorium went wild, booing him. Their screams echoed in my eardrums, drowning out everything else. I was terrified. No! I screamed from the older woman's lap, scrambling to try to get away from her and rescue Dad. People were so wild up at him, howling at the top of their lungs, even poking him with knitting needles. They just brought, they just brought just for that purpose. I whipped as the match began. Mom worked as Dad's manager, and I thought I tried like hell to wiggle out of the lady's arms to get to Mom. It was clear that she was too busy to console me. They're hurting my dad. I yelled at the lady restraining me, but only shushed me and tried to convince me it was all okay. I felt absolute terror. Blood dripped down to my father's face, and I went frantic, trying to get to him, to protect him from the wrestler who was beating on him, between the old woman and the other helpers. Along with the clump of fans, I was keep flinging myself bodily to a ring, and when the match ended, and Dad was escorted backstage. The lady brought me to him, and I went into a master arm, sobbing my eyes out. Aw. It's alright, princess. He wiped blood from his forehead before squatting to my level. My dad was straight sure, and he never lied to me. He never talked to me like I was a kid, but if I were an adult, he respected my ability to understand, even from my very young age. They were all yelling at you. I whined. They said they hate you. It's okay. I just play a character, he said. You know, I'm a good guy, but they out there, they all think I'm bad, and they enjoy shouting their lungs out at me. They think that they're yelling at the bad guy. But you're hurt, I said, pointing to a thin line of blood that's still dripping from his temple. This isn't real, you know, he said. It's fake blood. I realized later that this was one exception to his honesty. It's the best policy rule. He was generally bleeding. Oh man, of course it was plain blood, by the way. See, princess, I'm fine. He dabbed the blood away. From that day on, I started to get the picture. It's called kayfabe. The illusion that professional wrestling is not staged. That good is really is brawl. Brawling against evil before our very eyes. There's something so human about this. It's a chance to leave our dirty chores bullshit and warriors behind to forget about complexity and shades of gray. This is a world where you fucking know how good from bad right off the bat. And when the good wins, we all scream and yell our fucking brace out. Blowing off steam. And by the time we leave the arena, our shoulders are a little less heavy. I came to see kayfabe like Santa Claus. When I was little, Mom was weighing sleigh bells outside in the dark to convince us that Santa was on his way. And even after I was old enough to know the difference and to realize that Santa was really just Mom and Dad trying to give us a special experience, I wouldn't do anything to ruin the illusion. There's something mystical in continuing to believe. As the same as the rest of the world, belief is what makes the magic happen. Oh man. Oh, we're almost there. I gotta tell you, while I read this part, I thought it's real blood, but when he says it's fake blood, man, he's just playing a kayfabe story. I totally understand how wrestling works, so I'm gonna try that for sure. He's just selling. That day, we sailed the wind twice. Some days we did as many as 3 times, bringing our family show on the road to multiple venues in a single day. And now I knew the secrets behind the acts. Zach and my big brother Roy taught me some moves. I knew to tuck my chin before I hit the ground, and how to use the momentum of the person. Excuse me. I was tussling with to make a more dramatic flip. I knew how to keep myself grounded so I couldn't be knocked over too easily. And I knew to wash or at least air out the sticky knee pads after training sessions. Those were foul pieces of equipment, and even the dryer sheets tucked into them, and Febreze sprayed all over them. That god awful smell haunt me. If a wrestling wing just assembled smells like home and love to me, then dirty knee pads were all the shit that came along with life, even when you are surrounded by love. At the end of that long weekend, Zach and I hauled ourselves into our park in the back of the van as Mom drove toward our home to Norwich. Most of the roads were made of cobblestone, and there was ruins everywhere. Castles and buildings from years and years ago, all made of stone, and no one was allowed to touch them. The people in charge wanted to preserve the history and keep the ruins intact as long as possible, so it was illegal to mess with them in any way. There's a hill nearby. England's so flat. It's pretty special to have a hill with Norwich Castle on top. Now it's a museum, mostly for history buffs and tourists. I totally love history, especially after Mom pointed out one time when we were visiting that I have an ancestor in the castle. The castle had death masks cast taking off criminals' face after death to preserve the image. Back in the days before photography or displaying in the dungeon, one of the criminals was related to us. She was a woman, said to be a murderer, though I'm not sure who was supposed to be killed. I think she was executed for her crimes. Oh boy. The death masks were fucking terrifying, and yet I love them. The way they captured a person's final expression, some look peaceful, others in distress. Sometimes I could see a smirk or lack of remorse on the criminal's face. I know it wounds preserved in the cast, like the neck that strange angle. Oh my god, what am I? Man, what part are we in? All right, let me start again. Sometimes I could see a smirk or lack of remorse on the criminal's face. I know it wounds preserved in the cast like a neck at the strange angle where a person has been hanged, or a jagged slice where a head has been served for the body. Ugh. Oh, that fireworks. I dragged a few friends I have for school to a castle wherever I could to show it to my ancestor, Death Max. I was convinced she made me special somehow. In addition to a castle and the freaking Death Max, Norwalk is known for having a church for every week of the year. Though in our family, we weren't big churchgoers, and a park in town for every day of the year. Eventually, my family would even own one. The music in Norwich was also really good. We used to have a couple of venues where bands would pass through, and wherever I could go listen to. I go listen. There were a lot of buskers on the street, performing, singing, playing guitars and violins, and there was a staple I loved the most: the Norwich Market. It was gorgeous, with colorful tents. Wherever I wasn't helping the family to sell wings, and if I have somehow earned a few fiver, I'd be down to a market to buy whatever advertised the cheapest chips in the UK. When mom finally pulled the van back up to our house, it was the way past 80 normal kids' bedtime. But then again, we weren't a normal family. We were the Western Knights of Norwich. Nice. Dad woke me and Zach in the back, and we tumbled into a house, followed by our parents and the wrestling trainees. Mom and Dad hired our venues all over part of England for wrestling matches. Everything from grand halls to some pub car park. We need to get a few hours a shy because too soon it'll be time to wake up and to do it all over again. And that's the end of the chapter one. I love this part. It's a good start. And and like I said, I apologize for our prologue. I read the whole part, but it should be in Patreon for us. And I don't think you guys could read that part, but um this part the prologue, not what I'm talking about it. But I am going to talk about for chapter one, where how she was young and she watched her father wrestle as. Well, when her father became a heel, he played the villain, like antagonizing the fans, and he get attacked by super wrestlers, and 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 young Saraya knew that he was beating up, boosting blood and stuff. It's not real blood. It's fake. And when she went to her back, her father told Saraya that it was all fake. It's all played. It was all scripted. And most importantly, he selling it real good. That was a good sell. I tell you, the more damage you take, the more you sell. That's how wrestling works. That's how entertaining that goes. I think I learned that good chapter because man, I can't wait to read another chapter. So I hope you guys enjoyed this chapter of Saraya Hell in Boots. If you're new out here, be sure to hit the like and make sure you hit subscribe. I'm sorry. Make sure you subscribe and let me know in the comments below what you think about this chapter. I'm looking forward for part two for by next week. So And before I do that, I also go read Becky Lynch, The Man, Now Your Average Girl. Probably in next 3 chapters or so, and then I'm gonna get to Becky Lynch because I know you guys are dying to see my reading. And I apologize for the my speaking because man, I hope you guys can understand. So I hope you guys enjoy it. Thank you guys for tuning in. I will catch you guys on the road. Peace.